I'm Karin Moen Abercrombie. I usually introduce myself as Karin Abercrombie. It's too long, but I like my Moen, my Swedish name. And I've been the executive director here for 11 years. I love working here right now, and not just because of the connection that we get to young and old, to first generation Swedes, to fifth generation Swede, but also to just all the young children that have no connection with Sweden, but are enjoying learning about the museum and learning what it is to be in an environment that isn't all about technology. The museum was started because we wanted to share the story of the Swedish immigration, where 1 million Swedes came between about 1850 to 1930. Many of them came to Chicago. And the reason for Andersonville is that they lived downtown in the beginning when they first came here, but after the fire in 1871, you couldn't build wood houses down in the city. So you had to they needed to find land further north where they could continue to build houses that they could afford to build, which was wood houses. So the museum has been here for a little over 40 years. We started in 1976 in a small storefront across the street and then moved here in 1988. The Children's Museum was opened in 2001. And that was really because both children is that's the next generation all the time. But the immigration of Swedes to the United States changed over the years, and we have fewer and fewer people that immigrate here at this point. But we still believe that immigration is such an important part for all of us. On the first floor, we try to have 4 different exhibits every year. It's a mix of art exhibits, and it can be glass, it can be paintings, it can be photography, but we also try to mix in some information exhibits in there. And then this is about sustainable houses, where it's all about sustainability, all about energy efficiency, and how we in Sweden have been able to do that more so, I believe, than here in the US, but it's coming. And then the smaller space on the second floor we just created last year. And that's for those smaller exhibits. So now there's a photography exhibit about Chicago, but it's a Swedish photographer and what he calls street walking photography. And then the main exhibit is about the immigration, and those are all Swedish objects. But they really, for school's children, we focus on immigration. What does it mean to move from one country to another? What you have to take with you? What's important? What is not so important? And the kids have so much fantasy and so much energy that they can easily translate a Swedish immigration to an immigration that works for their own family. Mm-hmm. And then for us to continue to be part of the community. Make sure that the museum is used for everything, not just for museum events, but for chamber events. We have lots of block clubs in our area, and they use our museum for some of their gatherings. So that continuously try to teach people you don't have to be Swedish to come into our museum. Yes, it's changed. I've also lived in this neighborhood now for a little over 25 years. So I've seen it change over the years. And it is a little bit more diversity, which I think is great, and I think it's wonderful, and I really welcome it. And I think it's a diversity that's very open to everybody. And to me today, it's hard to say that we're not the Swedish community anymore, but like I said earlier, we have the Swedish heritage, and you see it with the Dala horse, you see it hopefully with the water tower coming back and stuff here. But that everybody feels at home walking on the street. Everybody feels at home having a store here. And yeah, back in the 50s and 60s, there were lots of Swedish stores up and down the street. And we still have people coming in, and they remember this being the Lind hardware store. Mm-hmm. We're a little sad that the Swedish bakery closed, because there was definitely something where we could send people up for some good bakery goods and then come back and see the museum. But together with all the other ones, we are making sure that we can keep some of the Swedish heritage alive. With Midsummerfest, with celebrating Lucia on December 13. We have our Christmas market that we call julmarknad, because that's the Swedish word for it. And the whole community gathers around that. We definitely don't want to continue to say that it's only Sweden that means anything if you're up here, because it is a mixed community. We share Chicago's history as one of the ethnic communities in Chicago. And we do it also together with other museums that have all connected with the Chicago Cultural Alliance, because all of Chicago is built on communities and ethnic most of us are immigrants from somewhere. And you have the Polish community, the Chinese community, the Italian, the Irish, and that we can all share that ethnic cultural background and sort of really celebrate where we're from, but do it in a community and in a city that is open to everybody.